And you pronounce your last name Keithley? Keithley?
Yes.
Yeah. So
Keithley.
Keithley, Marcie Keithley. It's a tongue twister for him. Marcie Keithley. Marcie Keithley.
Like, just like it sounds, like the first name Keith and then Lee.
Yeah, putting the two together, I don't know what it is. I've been doing my audiobook for days now, reading it, and I'm getting tongue-tied now because I think I've been speaking, into a microphone for so long now. And so Marcie Keithley, and I hear myself saying things imperfectly in conversation with people, and I want to go and say, can I do another take on that? It's so ridiculous. Marcie Keithley, thank you so much for taking the time to sit with me today. This is my YouTube channel, but it's also a part of a playlist called In Conversation With. And what we're trying to do here today, as miraculously as we can, on Zoom, at a distance, from New York, from Indiana, from the world around us, is just have a chat in the living room.
Glad to be here. Thank you so much for having me, Kevin.
Marcie Keithley is the author of The Shoebox Effect, Transforming Pain into Fortitude and Purpose. And I love that subtitle. What year was that published?
2019.
2019. And the funny thing that I thought about that as I was reading it is the words fortitude, right? That word fortitude and purpose, but that word fortitude is so rarely used. It's such an effective understanding of why you wrote the book, not just how you wrote it, not just who it's for, but just, the real why, the deep why. And I always find that purpose is usually why driven, not how, not what, but why. But you have actually some other pieces of your life that maybe people know about, I'm sure, if they're watching, and they may be attracted to you and some conversations you've had with others. It's called the Indiana Adoptee Network. Can you just tell us a bit about that for maybe listeners who don't know?
Sure. Well, Indiana Adoptee Network began about 4 years ago. It was a spinoff of Hoosiers for Equal Access to Records, and that was the sister organization that started the legislation process to seek opening the closed records for Hoosier adoptees. So after we passed SB 91, we decided that our work wasn't done at that point, and that there were so many adoptees and first families that would be in reunion. They needed a safe place to come to, a home that was full of great resources. They could find their own tribe. We could help with searching DNA and just connect and build fellowship. So it started 4 years ago, and now it's grown and it just morphed into this wonderful organization that is not just Hoosiers. We have followers from all over the United States and several countries as well.
I remember when I first touched base, I think, with you and several other people that are part of the organization. I live in New York, and of course, those records have been, locked, sealed, stored away. And this year was a big watershed for a lot of us who couldn't even get, our birth certificates, our original birth certificates. And I remember it was maybe one of the first places, I think, that I connected with. And I thought to myself, well, what am I going to do with people in Indiana? And it was instant. The connection was instant, the meaning, and again, the why we're doing this. It's not about Indiana. It's about adoptees. It's about the adoption triad. It's about primal wound. It's about the things that we're really looking at to heal, but also the legalities that really just affect all of our lives, whether we feel elbowed by them or we just feel like maybe oppressed by them. Sometimes I'm not sure whether I feel like somebody's punching me in the jaw or just, silencing me. I don't know which one's happening, but other times I just feel like in community, I feel like this is Indiana Adoptee Network is a place to talk and a place to listen.
Thank you.
Yeah, you've done wonderful work. So I'm going to put the glasses on and off, as I told you, because I do have some notes. And starting off topic for a minute, if you don't mind, David Boll.
Yeah, I enjoyed having him on last night. And for the benefit of your listeners who may not know, we host a happy hour call every Friday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So David was our we just celebrated our 30th episode. So David was our 31st. So we have we're booked up till, I believe, the 1st of February with guests.
The piece that I really found interesting in his words were, and he says he is not just highly, but overly adaptable. And he also called himself a chronic malcontent. Tell me honestly. I understand that. I get that. I've been known to be curmudgeony. Do you feel like that has been a part of your life, the chronic malcontent, the feeling, and what that might even mean to you?
I've until David, I really haven't heard it quite how he put it so eloquently, but now that you mentioned it, yes, yes. And I don't think, when I look back over the last 12 years, I wouldn't have made it without the adoption community. When I hit that point in my story where I crash and burn, I I couldn't have made it without him. It wasn't my therapist, although she played a part, but it wasn't my therapist that helped me so much. It wasn't my best friend or family members because nobody got it. Was the adoption community.
The things that I participate in are one thing. It's the difference. The way I say it is there's a difference between being around the community and being in the community. And the specific difference is for me, am I participating? Am I giving? Am I partaking? Not just what I can get, but what can I give? Because the minute I start to give to anyone or anything, I'm invested. I'm hooked. I'm in. And so that's been really incredible. It's not just that community, but it allows me to get out of my own head sometimes. And an hour later, I don't even recognize my problems anymore. They're not the same. It's almost magic.
There's a lot of nuggets in your mess. I always say there's magic in your mess, but you have to be brave enough to go there and stay there and do the work.
And I'm going to quote you now. You have to make sure that you have no fantasies or unreasonable expectations when you end up in what numbers. So the chapter is escaping my demons. So I think this is a really nice piece to ask you about who we are to each other, because you and I are not both adoptees, are we?
We are not.
And in my book, which I know you have taken the responsibility to ingest at some stage, the story begins with me not knowing my biological family, and the story begins with me not even sure if I could, would, should, or even want. It wasn't the first thing on my mind, but the first person that was key to this book, to the whole story, propelling forward, was someone named H.E.A.R. And when I look at you, I look at any other person that was similar to Roz, I see Roz, I see you, and I see Roz. And the conversation that I had with Roz was profound because it was the first time I had sat with somebody who told me these words. Kevin, I relinquished my twins at birth. So tell me who you see when you're talking to me.
I can reciprocate, and I see my daughter.
And how's that work for you?
It gives me moments of joy and it gives me moments of sadness at the same time. And those feelings it's a constant battle. And when I remember that honeymoon period and those good times, I can't wish for anything more. But on those difficult days, the grief and the shame and the guilt, they just continually keep coming. Even, there's no such thing as totally healed. We're in this is a journey and it is in stages. But as I shared with you before, being around someone like you, other members of the adoption community, that's where I can feel at rest, at ease, comfortable, and I can open my heart and I can share those tough moments and we can dig deep and we can hold hands, we can cry, we can exchange stories, and then I'm okay. And then I'm okay. And that's all right.
You're saying the word okay, and the idea of, and then I'm okay. I may not be okay in 5 minutes, maybe in an hour, maybe in a day. It might just, boomerang on me is a good way to think of it. But in the moment, that cure has taken hold. in the moment that healing is manifesting. And I never thought that it was possible to go from that face to face with Roz, and she's passed away now, so I can talk about her all I want.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
She died of pancreatic cancer. It was one of the hardest losses for me. Imagine, just I say it with all the reverence of, I looked at this woman as if she could have been my mother. She guided me and shaped me through the search and helped me to understand that process. And then I lost her. How many, losses do we have to experience? But the beauty of it was there was the healing before the loss. See, as an adoptee, I don't get any healing before the relinquishment. There's nothing, the brokenness happens immediately. And then I have a lifetime of trying to piece that together and maybe healing. Well, good. I wanted to bring that out in a way that would be, maybe a little bit, if you don't know Marcie, you don't know me that well. If you're watching this for the first time, that's who we are. We are a birth mother and a first mother and a adoptee having this chat. That would have been impossible years ago. Just would have been
impossible. That's exactly right.
So the book is, it's about shoebox. It's about a shoebox, and there's something in there that really caught my attention as an adoptee who doesn't have a shoebox that I can look at. And the chapter is called Shoebox Healing. And what really caught me was, by knowing the contents of mommy's box as well as our own. And I'm going to skip that. We can acknowledge our past and we could heal. What do you say to me, my friend? I don't have a shoebox. I got you. I got Roz. I got community, but I don't got a shoebox.
And that's just it. You do have a shoebox. Your shoebox just isn't physical. It's here in your heart. It's in your mind. It's in your spirit. It's in your emotions. You have many shoeboxes. I just happen to have a physical one.
So my imagination, and not just my intellectual imagination, but my emotional imagination. I would say my physical, we're going deeper now, my physical imagination, I can allow myself to envision physically that shoebox. And I would say for myself, one of the most important is that real underlying spiritual imagination, allowing me to claim my own shoebox. That's not easy. That's not easy, my friend.
It's not easy.
That shoebox, no matter how many times I imagine it, my fears and my own anxieties can make that shoebox stark and barren real quick. If you knew that you could inject, you knew that I was never going to know that shoebox. You just knew that was all the beautiful things in your book weren't going to happen for me, because they don't happen for all of us. We don't all manifest the end of our search in identical ways. And if you could come into my heart and my mind right now, just to really assure me, maybe even to ensure that I understood that there was, I think you know where I'm going here. What would you want me to know?
The answers lie in the broken pieces. Your healing, your purpose lies in those broken pieces. When we do the work and we have the courage to set in abuse, shame, guilt, all of those things, and we just sit there and we allow not just our minds and not just our hearts, but our whole bodies, because these emotions affect our body. When we allow all that and we sit there and we feel that, and we are doing that work, and we're sifting through those broken pieces of our life, we do find the answers. And they're different for all of us, but we find our answers. The key is you have to be brave enough to go there.
Courage. I was talking to someone today about the difference. I've heard a phrase that I never like, and if you like it, that's okay. I'm just not one that likes the phrase, fear is a lack of faith. That's what I've heard. And I just never liked that, because I thought, I'm afraid a lot. Does that mean I have no faith? No faith in myself, no faith in my community, no faith in my higher power, no faith, just whatever that word means. And I realized, no, there's a big difference between faith and courage, because I think from the manifestation and the way that my life has rolled out since I met Roz, I was afraid every day. I had fears, and they were real fears, because something was going to something was going to change in my life, and I was fairly certain that I had zero control over it. All I could do was take a step every day. And I don't think that because I was afraid every day, I don't think that I had little faith. I think I had to have, even if it was just a mustard seed, as they say, that was enormous faith. And it gave me the ability to have courage. And that's the difference that I think we talk about, that level of real making the decision. I'm going to, take one baby step away from where I am now, which is total fear and immobility, because I may not get that fearlessness that I would think that maybe everyone has. I think that's one of the things I always thought is everyone's better than I am. Everyone's fearless. Look at them all. Their lives are so wonderful. And it's not true. The whole community that I found, whether it's within the triad, the adoption triad, or whether it's in just community outside of our community, even just people I work with and know and that care about me, I find they all struggle. We all have fears. We all have brokenness. We all have things to heal.
And to your point, when we're talking about fear, the scene at the beginning of the book where the shoebox finally comes out and it's sitting there on the ottoman, and the emotions, I had fear that evening. I had to actually drink a little bit to even have the courage to open it up. The terror of opening the lid of a beat up 30-year-old shoebox. Here I was, 52 years old. Now, just imagine that. It didn't matter what I had successfully done up to that point, thinking I was living the American dream at that point. I was scared of a little box. That scene was just, that evening was so profound to me, to finally get the courage to just slip that ribbon off and open up that lid. And I don't want to do any spoiler alerts for what's in there, but it took a lot of courage to do that and to push that fear aside and start to, as I was reflecting that evening, I had to recall that, hey, I'm not that young girl anymore. I'm not that, I'm successful. I've done a lot of things in my life. I'm a strong woman and I can do this. And I wanted answers. And I wanted to go back. And I just made that decision that evening. And that box just changed, the rediscovery of that shoebox just changed my whole life.
I think I know for me, making a decision is a wonderful phrase. And I know for me, when I think of making a decision, it sounds like, especially the way you and I are articulating it, if I was someone who hadn't made the decision yet, so to speak, and then I heard I made the decision and it changed my life, and I would say, whoa, 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 that's too much. And I made the decision to do one thing. I made
choice.
Right. And then after I made that decision, I made another and another and another. It was the initial decision that allowed the big changes to happen somewhere down the line, but they weren't what I was after. I was nowhere near ready to complete a search. I was nowhere near ready to have any reunion. I wasn't even, the only thing I wanted when I talked to Roz, I said, all I really ever wanted was a picture, just one picture. I wanted a picture of my biological mother around the time that I was born. That's it. I could just hold on to that for the rest of my life and have nothing else. But that was the little bit of an opening that allowed me to say, okay.
The light came in. Yep. You hung on.
And, there's pictures right here. And, they're on the front of the book, so it's no big secret. There's my adoptive mom and my biological mom, and that picture came to me. but it didn't come to me the next day. It didn't come to me. What I think it was 2005, and I wasn't too handy at Facebook back then. Maybe I could have Googled around a little bit, but it was much more of a process, and I'm so grateful for that process. I'm so grateful for the days that went by, although many of them felt like they were never going to end, and many of them felt maybe gave me a sense of not just fear but hopelessness. And there were times on the search that were worse than anything. And they weren't hopeless, they weren't fear, I felt helpless. And that's where the adoptee experience really transcends for people who have not lived through that sense of not knowing. There's that real helplessness. And in New York, it was this complete, inaccessible helplessness. I had no recourse. And that's why it took 2 years to even traverse some of the hardest. I feel like I should have a private detective shield right on, that I learned so much. But there's so many people in my life that I've grown to cherish, that I've met along the way. You're a new one, but you're one, and now I recognize that the community is what I cherish. Right, the individuals in the community make up this wonderful community that I cherish. This is what the healing can not always, but can start to manifest as the ability to really listen to each other and care. I mean, I just care about you. I care about you. And like I said, I don't look at you. And I think that's the thing. A lot of times we think about it and we're told, look at the other person as if they, to treat them the way you would want to be treated. I have the unique perspective to be able to say, I'm going to treat you the way I'd want to treat my mom. And I know that there were probably days in my past when maybe I would have, we wouldn't have had this ease of conversation.
My grandson has a new girlfriend. He's been dating her for the last 3 months. And I just found out she's adopted.
Just found out since we
Just found out she's adopted.
talked a few days ago. Oh my gosh.
And I facilitated a reunion in my front yard with mother and daughter. That's my purpose. That's what gives me peace. And this young girl here, she's at my house this weekend. She's currently reading The Primal Wound. She had set in on our first adoption happy hour call last night with Dave and Bolt because she does have some addiction, some problems. And she was cast out by her adopted parents, and she's alone. And I just had to share that because we never know. And we must always be prepared to be able to touch someone and help them with our stories, with our experiences. That's what we're here for.
That's what drives me. It's a silent thing for me. It's not like I do not put on my superhero cape in the morning. It is in the dry cleaner and I will never take it out again. It's gone. I don't care who wears the suit. I am not a superhero. All I have is the very quiet knowledge that I'm here for a reason. And I love the word you use, which is purpose. The back of my book has, the little bio thing, Kevin Barheit, yada, yada, yada. But at the very end of it, it says, Kevin Barheit's life can be summed up in 8 words: to be of service to God and others. Now, whatever that means to anyone, that's fine. But to me, I know exactly what it means. It's what we're doing right now. It's how we live our lives. And I don't know if this will last, but I know as long as I can, I want to be able to show up for my purpose. So thank you so much. This has been wonderful. I hope you enjoyed yourself as much as I did.
I did. Thank you.
Yeah, you never know where conversations are going to lead. That's for sure. Is there anything that you want to end with? Anything you want to let people know?
There is. If you don't mind, I wrote a little poem that I would like to read about choices.
Please.
And I just would like to end on this note. It's a very simple little poem. If you were given a second chance to step back into time and change a wrong and make it right, I wonder what you'd find. For God has chosen a special path for all of us, you see. Would you correct the mistakes you made, or would you let them be? As I look back on my own life, the choices that I made were ones that helped me grow up strong. None were made in vain. Regardless whether wrong or right, each one helped me to see that only when we fail to choose, our lives can never be. You have a choice to start each day with happiness and joy, or you could choose to stay in bed, depressed, removed, and void. You have a choice to share your life with friends and family, or hide away within yourself and miss your destiny. You have a choice to take a chance or let it walk on by, but you will never taste success unless you reach and try. For failures teach us many things and are not meant to be a way to give up on a dream and hand away the key. So when you choose carefully and look within your heart, for only when we fail to choose, our lives can never start.
Choose carefully. Choose carefully. I love the words of failure that are in there, and they're used not as a curse word,
Not as a curse word.
not as a shame. Thank you so much for your time. I'm going to just finish up real quick by just saying, folks, everyone go out if you haven't already and buy the Shoebox Effect. It is the subtitle is Transforming Pain into Fortitude and Purpose. So it's two things you get to do. You get to have fortitude and purpose. Don't forget that. The Shoebox Effect, Transforming Pain into Fortitude and Purpose by Marcie Keithley. And don't forget that the book, brand new, just came out, Dear Stephen Michael's Mother, and that is my memoir. And if you get a chance, go pick that up. Thanks.
Have my copy.
That we did not choreograph. We didn't choreograph it. Well, bless you for grabbing that. Thank you so much. I look forward to. We will talk again. Maybe not here, maybe here. We'll talk about that reading when you've gotten done with that. I'm really interested. Thank so much, Marcie. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Welcome. Thank you for having me.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.